All right, folks, it's time for a special edition of World Edition and Afternoon Edition and all along those lines. So looking forward to our very special guest, Flat Earth Dave, and all along those lines. So interested to learn as to why things might be different than we perceive them to be. I know that when I was growing up, I used to watch some of the science shows like Mr. Rogers, and well, Mr. Rogers wasn't necessarily a science show, but definitely would imply some of the things of science and all along those lines. And of course, you've got people that will say that we went to Earth and that we've been to Earth and all along those lines, and that they have seen what they perceive to be a round Earth and all along those lines. But my guest today actually has a counterpoint, and I'm very interested to find out how this counterpoint works and all along those lines, because I am open-minded to being having my mind changed and everything along those lines. So definitely looking forward to finding out more about his thoughts around this and even the notion of space exploration and all along those lines. Because as a child that is now in his 60s, so a child of the, I guess I would be a child of the 70s and the 60s, I remember how big a deal it was that we went into space and all along those lines. So that is part of the argument that people use for the reason that the world is round. That, and people like Carl Sagan that had this notion of a marble or something like that, that he would use the analogy. I forgot the total analogy, but I know marble was in it and all along those lines. So this notion of us being on a ball and all along those lines. But Dave, I found out about you through Matchmakers, and I know you've been on thousands of shows, but you seem to have a different viewpoint that maybe we've all got it backwards and all in that space. And like I said, I am willing to hear the arguments and to try to understand why those people that think that we're on a round Earth might be totally wrong. Because like I said, the first argument most people make is the argument that we went to space, and apparently when we look back down, what we saw was a round Earth that was going around in a circular motion, and there's that whole planetary notion that we're out there and other planets are all circling around each other. But you seem to dispute that. So like I said, I'm still trying to understand, and I'm open to conversations to try to understand some of the reasoning that you have that notion. And I know one of the questions that you ask and people ask just in general is, at the end of the day, most people are struggling. I mean, we're getting ready to have a presidential election, and some people are worried about economy and the other things that are concerning them, abortion and a number of other issues. So some people might be wondering, does it matter whether we're flat Earth or even if we are a triangle or some other shape and everything along those lines? So what is your reasoning for thinking that this notion that science tries to present, that we are a round Earth, is not the case and everything? Like I said, my grandfather was a scientist, and the biology building at Central is named after him, and my dad is very much into science. I will never claim to be a scientist. I mean, I was more of a journalist and more into the liberal arts, so I don't pretend to even know all the things about geography and even some of the astronomy and some of the other things like that. So I'm still just interested to learn more about your reasoning, and there's some other things that you brought up even in your letters and everything that are very fascinating, and I'm just trying to figure out some of your thoughts around this. So like I said, I'm open to conversation and learning from anybody, but definitely trying to figure out the notion of a flat Earth versus a round Earth.
All right, Mark, thanks for that intro. And I have to tell you, my response to your intro is going to be 4 hours long before I'm going to let you say another word. I have so much to say about so many topics, but the good news is I won't be able to remember everything you just said, and I won't be able to cover all of them. So we'll start, and then I'm sure you'll have 900 more questions, 900 more statements. The first thing I want to tell people is don't believe anything I say. I'm going to show you some stuff that you never thought of. I'm going to point out to some things that you never realized. I'm going to show you the nature of the human mind, on how we'd rather be lazy than actually do the work. I'm going to tell you how they never taught us to think. They only taught us to memorize and regurgitate. I'm going to teach you that this is not the flat Earth. This is not the flat Earth. You mentioned that you were taught in school. It doesn't matter what you were taught in school, because you were taught what the Rockefellers want you to know in school. And, before you could even rationalize, you were shown astronauts and planets on Sesame Street and Disney, right? Disney and NASA are literally parent sister companies, whatever you want to call it. And they're both, one is faker than the other. I would say the more real one is Disney than NASA. When you start looking into it, this is a scene from Sesame Street. It's kind of weird, blah, blah, blah. They're talking about the library. And look, this is the fiction section. They've got a globe and a rocket there. Nothing is by accident, right? They're always telling us. Right in front of our faces. It's called predictive programming. No matter where you go, there's always, in cartoons, right? The truth is in the cartoons. The lies are in the news. Scams, globe, and that the devil's wanted, right? This is just tiny little things. They want you to believe that this is a cult leader, right? This is not a cult leader. This is a cult leader, right? This is a cult leader. This is a guy that uses the word science but has nothing but pseudoscience. And when you defend the globe, you defend it from programming, but you can't come up with a single proof that the Earth is a globe. And you can't find any test that has ever measured any curvature or axial rotation, which a sphere would require, right? You said the circle, looking out at the Earth and see the circle. A circle is a line on a flat surface, on a plane. The definition of a circle is a line on a plane where all the points in that line are equidistant from a center point, right? That's a circle, the circle of the Earth. The Earth can be a circle, but not be flat. But not be a sphere, right? A sphere and a circle are two different things. When you I'm just trying to think where I go. You said so many things I want to comment on.
Yes.
So when you say your dad worked for NASA, did you say, or he worked? He was a scientist. What did you say?
I said my grandfather was a scientist. The biology building is named after him. I think he discovered some sort of germ or something like that. I said my dad has always been fascinated by the scientist. He's an artist, but he's always been fascinated by science.
Right. So, when they show you, space, this is our astronaut on the space station showing you the Earth, right? Well, here's Captain Kirk showing you, I don't know, this looks more convincing than that. It's all a big joke, right? But people say, oh, not so many people, they couldn't keep a secret like that. They couldn't keep a secret. Yeah, they can. Right? Well, the trained response is they couldn't even keep a BJ in the White House a secret. That's a psyop. That was literally let out to make you say that. Make you say, oh, that's what you said. What difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday, right? What difference with all the stuff going on in the world, with the election, with the child trafficking, everything? What difference? Well, the shape of the Earth doesn't matter. It's your position in it, your power within it. And basically, the controllers have created a fake world away from the creator. So therefore, they can make the rules. If you play on their ball field, you have to play by their ball rules. And then if they control you with the money and the food, then you are controlled 100%. We are slaves on a farm. The ISS it's all the spacewalks are done in a pool. There's a pool called the National Buoyancy Lab where they do the spacewalks. And there's a full ISS in this crystal clear pool, right? You just switch it like that, and they go, well, look, we're in space. They just green screen the backgrounds, and we have evidence of that. Right? They have this was a here's a shot, green screen on, green screen off, right? These are scuba divers moving these guys around. They're supposedly practicing, but this is something that NASA aired showing you is real. It's the exact same scene, right? And then because you see this, you're like, oh, that's so cool, right? Whenever you see someone on the ISS, you see them always playing with something. Here's a recent picture of the ISS orbiting, and all of a sudden there was this seam going across the Earth. What is that seam? Now what that seam is stitching of different layers. That's showing you that it's complete and total nonsense, right? This is the show The Big Bang Theory. right? Remember, the Big Bang Theory? It's a popular show, right? This guy's on the ISS. He's doing a better job than they do on the ISS. He's floating around. He gets a pen. He floats it. He can flick it, right? Does that prove he's on the ISS? They're literally mocking us with the Big Bang, right? They're mocking us. So the question is, how many times, how many things do you have to show that prove that they're faking? And it's only one, in my opinion. But whenever you're being hung by wires and pretending to be weightless, your head will always automatically try to go upright. So these guys are hanging, but why are all of their heads tilted upwards? Why? If you're in space, your head should be perfectly in line with your spine, but they're always tilting towards the upward direction. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all, right? And then when they say, if I said, where is the land? What would you say? Where's the land? We're looking down from the ISS, right? Where's the land? Do you see curvature? I paused it for a second. And the answer is, most the globe apologists will go, yeah, it's curvature. They're out in the middle of the ocean, right? NASA gets $80 million a day or $75 million every single day. We filmed this in our front yard with a solar panel, and we just filmed it upside down and spun it over, okay? And so that is more convincing than what the ISS shows us. This is the ISS. This is the external tank. It weighs like 20 tons empty. It's steel. It's falling out of the sky from the space shuttle. This thing is gigantic. You could probably fit 10 Mack trucks in there, okay? Look at Felix Baumgarten when he did his space jump. Watch how fast he falls. He's falling. How are they keeping this in frame? How are they keeping this in frame? And here's the worst part. The guys that are filming this are actually on the shuttle going 20,000 miles an hour upwards while this thing's free falling, and somehow they can keep it in frame, right? Does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. The problem is when people start seeing this stuff, they don't want to think about it. The ISS is arguably the most incredible construction project in the history of the world. They built a space station in space. Mission control must have been like, okay, connect this piece, move that nut, right? They never showed any of it. They didn't film any of it. This is the only construction. This is admittedly a CGI animation. They forgot to film the entire thing. And then different countries built different parts. And the doors didn't match, so they had to build an adapter. A third country had to build an adapter to make them so they can connect. They never put it together on Earth. They just put it together in space for the first time, and there's no leaks. It works perfectly. These solar panels, right, wouldn't be enough. I was in the solar power business. Wouldn't be enough to power the lights on that thing, let alone air conditioners and heaters that have a 500-degree swing every 90 minutes. 500-degree swing? These things have been working for 20 years? And no maintenance is needed? You gotta be kidding me, right? So I'm just destroying space here because it is ridiculous. This is supposedly a real photo of the ISS from an approaching spacecraft. Right there, that's the shuttle. I believe that's the shuttle docked, right? Is that the shuttle right there?
Yeah, that looks like the shuttle.
No, hold on. Is that no? This is a different one. So this is them just pulling up to it. Oh, no, here's the shuttle right here. This is the shuttle, okay? So does that look real or does that look like a friggin' model, all right? I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little angry. I get fired up when I talk about this.
But I get one of the questions, just really quickly, because like you said, you raised a couple of interesting questions. What do you say to those people? Because some people that are listening to this now, and like I said, I did send the email, so some of my panelists may join us. I'm not sure they will or won't and everything. But one of the things that people point to is, I'm not a driver. I'll just say what I'm not, and I'm not a driver and everything. But some people will point to the heels of Earth and everything. Because like I said, I worked at a newspaper in Boca Raton, Florida, and Boca Raton was very flat level. It was like flat land. So it would be easier for people there to kind of buy your philosophy and everything. Whereas people are seeing places like where I live in Durham, there are a number of places that are more hilly than others. So I think that one of the arguments that they use is that how would heels work if we are on a flat level?
How would what work?
How would heels? So like a lot of people talk about like heels and inclines if they're driving.
Heels?
Heels like hills and mountains. Like how if this is a flat Earth, how would the mountain be able to stay there if it's flat and everything. Because I think that's one of the
Well,
arguments.
I mean, we live on a topographical plane with hills and valleys and trenches and mountains. It's just like, go to a football field and get a dump truck and dump some dirt there. Now you have a hill on a flat surface. I mean, that's all it is. It's just we live on a stationary, non-moving, flat surface. Here's the thing. The farther you get away from a ball, the more you can see the curvature, right? So this is supposedly from the space station, 240 miles up, and this is supposedly the curvature. It doesn't always match. They always show different amounts of curvature. Sometimes it looks flat. But this is Tesla. Elon Musk sent his friggin' Tesla up to space, and it took this picture from 170 miles up. There would be less curvature, but for some reason we can see the whole Earth, right? If a thinking mind will understand that one of these photos is fake or both of them are fake, right? It's absolute nonsense, the stuff that they show you, right? And they'll show you pictures like this. This is so cool. This is just a fisheye lens looking down at some island somewhere. I haven't identified the island. And it's ridiculous to even consider that space is real, because space is Narnia. Space cannot exist. You can't have a vacuum next to high pressure without a container. There's nowhere ever that you can show that air. If I had a box of air in a room that had no air and I opened it, all that air, it would instantly equalize inside the room. Instantly. But we have high pressure air adjacent to a void. Now they say, the pressure gets less and less and less and less and less until there's no air. Bull crap. Yes, it does get thinner as you get higher, but without a container, you can't have a pressure gradient. If you have a tank of propane that's halfway full, the bottom will be liquid, the middle will be a thicker gas, the top will be a thinner gas. But if you put a hole in that, all the gas is gone. You cannot have a pressure gradient. You can't have pressure without something to press against, right? You can't do any of it.
But just really quickly, one of the things I don't have any, you may have, I don't have any kids of my own, but I do have two nephews, and I know one of the things that they are constantly being taught, and I think everybody is taught this, is this notion that, if I heard you correctly, you're not buying that either and everything, that there are multiple planets. Like, we oftentimes hear people talk about the moon landing, and of course there's the notion that there might be a planet called Venus and a planet that used to be called Pluto, even though I think it got degraded and is no longer a planet and everything, and Uranus and a number of others. So am I hearing you correctly in this notion that there are not other planets out there, that it is really just the Earth, and maybe there isn't any other planets? Maybe there's a heaven, if you want to believe in heaven and hell and everything, but are there other planets? Or if it's a flat Earth, are we the only one? Or because one of the notions that people have is this notion of the planet circling around each other, and that we're all taught, like I said, I've got those two nephews, and they've been taught the planet table, just like I'm sure you were taught. I know I was taught when I was in school, these various planets, and then at some point a planet gets demoted as
and my answer to that is, cool story, bro. Right? These are all the planets, not to scale, of course. But if you looked up and seen Jupiter in the sky, I believe it's in the sky right now, you'll be able to see it tonight. It's super bright. Now, Jupiter is a gas ball 400 million miles away from the sun. Okay? We're 93 million, right? Round out, we'll say 100 million. So it's 4 times farther away from the sun. So if the sun was, the sun, we look at the sun in the sky, it's the size of a coin held at arm's length. I move it away, it gets a quarter of the size. I move it farther, it gets another quarter of the size. So at 100 million miles away, it's the size of a coin. And then I move it to 200 million miles away, it's a quarter of that size. And I put it to 400 million miles away, it's a 16th of that size. So if you were on Jupiter, the sun would be 1/16th the size that we see the sun from Earth. So Jupiter's sun, our sun, is 1/16th of the size. It's also 1/16th of the brightness. So you have to believe that small little brightness sun is reflecting off of the non-reflective gases of Jupiter, and then that's traveling 300 million miles to Earth, where it's depleting because it's spreading out. The inverse square law of light says light gets dimmer over distance, and we see it as bright as we see it. That alone tells you that it's not what they tell you, right? You would not be able to see Pluto or not Pluto, Jupiter, you would not be able to see the North Star at a light day away, but they tell us it's 433 light years away. When you do the math, when you take the time, when you actually look, right, you cannot deny it, right? But here's something I want you to think about. All of the planets orbit the sun. That's what they tell us, right?
Mm-hmm. That is what
okay.
It tells.
Okay. And why is our North Star stationary for us? Do you know what the official story is? Why does the North Star stay in the same spot? You know the answer? It's pretty easy, but I can explain it if you want me to.
Yeah, please do.
So the Earth is spinning, and the pole, the axis of our spin, points towards the North Star. So all the stars that are moving, they're not moving, we're moving. That's what they tell us. But North Star is always I lost my son. It's always pointed towards our axis, even though we go from one side of the sun, 90, here's the sun, right? If this is the sun, and we go, we're 93 million miles away over here in January. In June, we're on this side, 93 million miles. That's 186 million miles from here to here. But our North Star still is lined up with our axis. And the official story of that is, well, that's because it's so far away, that little 186 million miles doesn't make any difference because it's so far away. Cool story, bro. But let's go with it. We'll give it to him. All right. But the problem with that is our North Star, they want us to believe, is insignificant. It's only our North Star, right? So if we look at planets and we say, okay, our axis of rotation is up here, so our North Star is up here. North Star is not important to any of these other planets because their axis doesn't point to the North Star. I'm showing you the axes of all the other planets. None of them point to our North Star. So this planet, Saturn, would have its own North Star over here, important to Saturn. This one, would have its, right? Make sense? You understand that?
Yep.
Okay. Why is it that all of the planets circle Polaris? All of the planets circle Polaris perfectly, beautifully, in their own little ways, and making these cymatic geometric patterns, these energy patterns, okay? That all, if you look down at the Earth from the top, the vortex field makes the flower of life, makes the geometric shapes, and all of these fit in it perfectly. Why is it that the other planets are circling Polaris? Let me tell you, you may not be able to think it through because you were never taught to think that way, but there is no explanation. There is no heliocentric explanation for why all the planets, all the sun and the moon and the comets, Halley's Comet, everything circle Polaris. Interesting, right?
Just really quickly, that's a lot to digest, but I've got a gentleman that is a debate person. He's also one of our people on the network and everything, and he's definitely a lawyer by trade, so he might have some ideas and maybe better questions than even I do. So I'm going to bring in
Adam. Yeah, as long as he's respectful, ask the question, is willing to hear the answer.
Yeah. Adam, any thoughts around this? Is this notion that we are actually on a flat Earth and not a round Earth? Dave is bringing up some ideas as to why he is of the opinion that there's a lot of things have been staged, and I'm just paraphrasing some of his words. I don't think that it's unfair to say that he has made that argument and everything along those lines. But as I was telling him, I know that even my nephews are taught about the planets, and that's where he was making that argument and everything, that it could be a misnomer or something that is being mistaught and everything. So I know that you've got some interesting thoughts around life in general and everything, but do you see any merit to his arguments, or do you just think that it's something that can't be thought about in a different perspective? Because I have even talked about people that have had the notion of that we live in a matrix, or that we live in alternate universes and everything. So it'll be interesting to see your thoughts on this.
Well, I have to tell you that I always love hearing from people who have different opinions, particularly opinions that challenge the basic principles or assumptions that we have. And in circumstances like this, I like to listen and to try to learn. So what I would ask the question I have for you, Dave, is as someone who's not as knowledgeable about this subject as you, what are the 2 or 3 things that you would say to me that would convince me or persuade me to believe or at least think about your theory? And I'd also like to ask you if you believe in an afterlife.
Those are 2 good questions. I'll start with the second one. I believe we are eternal souls having an experience here in this realm. I believe that our souls live for millions and millions of years, and that we are expanding the mind of the Creator. That is far beyond what we're talking about today, but that's my belief.
Okay.
And I didn't used to have that belief. Okay, but I've been shown that this place is intelligently designed. There is no other possibility. A heliocentric world, the Big Bang could just be a Big Bang, or God could have done it. Either way, you have both choices. But when you discover that the Earth is an intelligently designed flat Earth, a level, horizontal, non-rotating Earth of incredible design, then you cannot deny the Creator anymore. And that's what the elite don't want. They don't want you in a situation where you can't deny God. They hate God, right?
Yeah.
So
here's what I think. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to give you one proof that we can go over 100 proofs, but I'll give you one, right? And then you could ask me. So here's a ball. The ball has a physical curvature to it. You can't see my mouth, right? Because it's behind the curvature. If I come up, you can see it, but down here you can't see it. And if we zoom in, you can't see it because there's a physical limitation to the horizon, the horizontal eye zone, the horizon. So here's a lake. And it's frozen lake. Our guy goes out there. He's 6 inches off the ground, and he puts these 4 lights out here. And these lights are 8 miles, 7, 6, and 5 miles away. Now, that doesn't seem like that far, but according to the globe math, a 6-inch eye camera, even adding in ridiculous refraction, this light should be 30 feet below the horizon, like my mouth was below the horizon. 22 feet, 15 feet, and 9 feet. Now, the globe explanation is that even though it's cold and dry and dark, they refracted up and stopped right at that curved horizon, right? And they stopped to appear like they're level, or they're just all right there, and we're just looking at them. All right, go ahead.
Just really quickly, I was going to add, because
what I was going to say is that from briefly listening to you, you seem like a very intelligent person. You seem like a very analytical person. So when you put forth a theory like this that most would consider not credible, it makes me wonder and it makes me question whether what we've believed for so long is actually correct. So how convinced are you in your theory?
Flat earthers know that there's much that we don't know. We know that. But we also know that the Earth can't be a globe because we've looked at high pressure next to a vacuum can't happen. We also looked at the axial rotation, the curvature measurements. We've tested and measured and we've done everything. There's lots that we don't know. We don't understand what the lights in the sky are. We don't, and neither do heliocentrists. I mean, you have to believe, right? If I had helium and hydrogen defy gravity on Earth, okay? If the Earth is a globe or whatever, they defy gravity. And if I had a box of air and I brought it into space, helium and hydrogen are just there, and I opened it, whoosh, it's going to instantly expand violently, filling the available space. You know this. You've done this in science class, right? But for some reason, a big bang happened, and all this helium and hydrogen was there, and there was so much of it that it decided to collapse upon itself and turn into a fusion furnace that burns for billions of years, and it has so much mass that it can hold on to Jupiter and Pluto and Earth and keep everything in perfect order, right? So we have all of these planets whirling and swirling around, and somehow they're in perfect order. I want you to go out tonight and take a photo from a specific position of the stars, and then go in your calendar and mark that date and time, and put an alarm, put a note to go out and do it again next year, same night, same time, or in 10 years. And you take those 2 pictures and overlay them on each other, and every single star will be in the exact same position. Now, they tell us that 80% of our stars are binary. As they're going around, they're binary, right? Our sun, Our sun is moving at almost 500,000 miles per hour, flying through this crazy universe, never to return where it was before, right? So we have trinary stars, we have binary stars, everything's moving around like bees in a beehive if you throw a rock at them, but never once in history have two stars change position due to parallax. They would be changing every night, but they never, ever change. This is what's going on just with our solar system. And all of these other stars are doing their own crazy movements, but never once have two stars ever changed positions. Right?
So I would like to, Shaq, I'm going to give it a Shaq. It's all you after this. My only question for you is, how do you respond to the science and information that challenges your belief? What is your response to that?
What science?
That says that the Earth is round, not flat.
What science says that?
Well, I admit.
Hold on. You're going to say you don't know, you're not studied, you don't have a degree. I get it. Neither do I. Right? But what science? When you look for it, you'll find there's only pseudoscience. Right? Everything is based off the radius of the Earth, and they came up with the radius of the Earth with two ridiculous things that are false and provenly false. Eratosthenes 2,000 years ago, and he's wrong, and it's absolutely provably wrong. I can go into that if you want to see that, but if the radius of the Earth is wrong, everything else is wrong. Nothing works.
Just really quickly, hold a second, Dave. Just really quickly, because the other guest
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
Brought in and everything.
Hey, wait, hold on a second.
Shaquille is from Australia, and the nickname for Australia is the land down under, because apparently they're on the other side and on the opposite side of where we are and everything. So how do you explain that? Because that's one of the theories, is that Australia is literally on the bottom side of the planet and everything, if I can use that example.
All right. But before, what's your name, first caller, first guy?
Adam was the first guy.
Adam. My website is flatearthdave.com. This is the most hidden information. Why? Because it's how they control humanity. Go to flatearthdave.com. My app is there. You can get the app or not. Scroll down. You'll see a big picture of me, and it says Crash Course. Click that and start watching those videos. If you watch the first 3 videos, I guarantee you will know that you don't live on a ball, right? I guarantee it. But the problem is YouTube, Google will never, ever show you those videos. They won't show you those videos because they know what's going to happen if you see them, right? Start going through those videos, and then you're going to come and a smart person will say, why the lie? Why the lie? Right? And whatever you do, I have this app which makes it really easy, but you don't need to get the app. You don't need to. You can just watch the videos. Everything's free on my website. So there you go. A lot of people accuse me of, I'm just pushing the app. All the trolls will show up here soon, and they'll say, I'm a scammer, whatever, right? You don't need to do anything that will cost you a penny. Just go and watch the information and make up your own mind, and don't believe me, don't believe the trolls, and don't believe what they told you in school, because that's all nonsense.
So what do you say when I just asked, because Shaquille is joining us?
About Australia? What about Australia?
How do you explain that there's a part of the Earth that is literally supposed to be on the opposite side or the underside of the Earth and everything, if we are a ball and everything?
Yeah, we're not a ball. It's just on the other side of the Earth. It's just across the Earth. Let me show you what I mean. So here is, this is on this day, this is from the Weather Channel, right? If you have a ball in space with a single source light, that light can only light up half of the Earth. But the Weather Channel showed on this day, 70% of the ball was in daylight at the same time. That's impossible, but that's weird. So let's look at this. This is day and night, and on August 13th, we have California just at dusk, right? We have South America all in light. Everything's in light except Australia and these islands over here. This is real world data on a Mercator map. It doesn't matter if the map's distorted. This is real world data, right? This is real world data. So if we look at the Gleason's map, which is our best map, right? And we put the sun right where it was over Western Africa, and we lift it up. Can we create that same circle of light? Sure we can. In the light, right? We got America and just Australia, and these islands are in the dark. So we can create that. Very cool. Now let's look at it on a globe. We got our globe. It's tilted like 34 degrees like they tell us. So we got Australia over here in the pink. There's Australia. and we'll put Australia in the dark, just like it is in real world observations. We'll go to the other side of the globe. Now, this is your map, right? We'll go to the other side of the globe. All of South America's in the dark. All of America's in the dark. Can't even see it. So let's spin it out and try it the other way. We'll move the globe just like we saw the light pattern in the real world data. So we're in the light. California is just on the edge of dark. We go back to the other side, and we got a problem. All of Russia and Europe and all of that is in the dark. I'll show you what's supposed to be in the light. All of that should be in the light. Doesn't work on a globe, works on a flat Earth. Does that prove the flat Earth? No, but it proves the globe to be false.
Now, I've got to tease, and Chuck's going to love me asking this question and everything, because we had a running joke just because we're in political season and all along this line. So would you say, and I don't know the answer, are the majority of flat earthers either Democrats or Republicans?
No, Mark, no, come on now. No, come on. So,
I would say
Dave,
the majority aren't voting.
The majority
Dave, I don't know if you can see me on the bottom left of the screen.
I can, and I could hear you. You're so loud, it's going to blow my eardrums out.
Oh, I'm sorry. It might be I'm not sure why I'm loud, actually.
All right, go ahead. No worries.
Too high. I'm sorry if I'm loud. Very good to meet you. I think we've talked a lot about misinformation bills and things like that. One of the examples that I've constantly used is the flat Earth people, and said, hey, they should be able to express what they want to express, and we should listen to them and hear what they've got to say. And I can very much hear your passion for what you're saying. I'm going to go to your website. I'm going to go get the app. I think that's fantastic. If you're passionate about something,
don't get the app yet. Go to the crash course. Watch those videos first. Make sure you want to get the app. I don't want you to waste your $3 getting the app, because
$3 isn't going to.
I agree. Listen, I think everyone should get the app, but I get so much criticism. Oh, he's just selling the app. I'm not selling the app. I'm selling the truth, and the truth is free. But the app makes it certainly easier and saves you a ton of time and helps you share it with others.
So I'm gonna get $3. It doesn't matter to me. If it matters to other people, that's up to them. But I love your passion, and I'm sure that you are used to having people, berating you for being, idiotic, and this is what the science says, and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure that you're used to that. I'm not going to do that to you. I love to hear you, and I think that some of the stuff that you've said is very interesting. So I'm going to check it out. I don't think I'm going to be persuaded, but hey, I'm open.
That's a good attitude. That's a good attitude, right? And if you get the app on the question mark page, all of the questions are answered. Hey, what about satellites and GPS? Where does the sun go? Why would they lie? What about tides, gravity? All of that stuff's answered. I can answer all of these for you. We'd be on here for about 500 hours, and I wouldn't do as good of a job as all of these hidden videos. All of these videos are hidden. Time zones and tsunamis. All of this stuff proves flat Earth. But
you have
to take the time to learn it.
So let me ask you a couple of questions, though, if you don't mind, that
I don't mind.
Would be curious about. So, if we have an issue with the Earth and gravity of the Earth going around the sun, would we also have an issue with the Moon, and not just the Moon for Earth, but we can focus on that mostly, but the Moon's for other planets, but let's talk about the Moon for Earth. And secondly, you talked about stars and constellations before, I think. So the great Christian stuff, Adam's not going to like this very much. The people that are sort of anti-Christian, or that say that Christians have recycled the story, what they talk about is, if you follow the Orion stars to the summer solstice, where the sun stops rising for 3 days and then it rises by 1 degree, that story about it being the new sun and the Son of God, and it comes from Virgin Mary because it's under the constellation of Virgo and all that sort of stuff, that story is not unique to Christianity. We know that many religions over the centuries have told that same story.
Sure.
What would be your explanation for some of the constellational observations that have been made over the centuries by human beings that didn't know as much about Earth and about space? And remember that it wasn't that long ago, relatively speaking, that people did think the Earth was flat. So, what would you say about those issues?
Well, first, you're seeing a lot of things. First, you said the summer solstice. Well, we're not all upside down in Australia, so that's our winter solstice. You're talking about the December 21st.
I was referring to the northern hemisphere for Christianity's purposes.
I'm with you, but no, but you did say the summer solstice, the sun dies. No, the sun dies on December 21st, which is your summer solstice, our winter solstice.
Yes.
No problem,
Yes,
no problem. I'm just kind of making fun. I'm just making fun of Australia because I like making fun of Australia. Right? So, first, you're making a lot of assumptions that people didn't know about the sky. I think we are in the middle of the movie Idiocracy. I think the world was far more advanced a couple hundred years ago than we are now. I think that we are slowly getting the technology back that they used to have worldwide, but there was a massive reset in the late 1700s, if you ask me. So this is a woman I interviewed in 2020. She was 102 years old. We were talking about the World's Fairs, and I just randomly asked her, what was she taught in school, public school in Connecticut, when she was in elementary school, and they said they taught her the Earth was flat. That was in 1920s. They taught her that the Earth was flat in public school here in America. So to say that we've known that the Earth is a sphere for 1,000 years or a long time is a lie. We found people in the 1950s, right? And that talk about they were taught both because they didn't know. And then all of this was changed in the late 50s and 60s. And the map I showed you, the map of the Gleason's map, that was hidden from us. And when you start looking at this stuff, it is it's undeniable, right? This is the Earth. This is our container. Right? This is the shoreline of the world pond. You have to have a shoreline. Water doesn't stick to a ball. When it's spinning, all the water would go out to the equator, right? And it would also get sucked into space. But for some reason, it works perfectly, unless the Earth is flat. And then, well, gee, how high is Antarctica? You know how high Antarctica is? Antarctica, compared to all the other continents, is the highest land on Earth. Isn't that a coincidence? Okay. Antarctica is the shoreline of our world pond. It's the shoreline of our world pond, right? And so how do they do it? They sorry about that. They cut it out. And so if we just cut it out here and then we wrap it around a ball, and we could hide the rest of the world from everybody. So they take it, they wrap it around, and they say no one's allowed to go down here to this continent. It's not a continent. It's actually the shoreline that was brought together, right? And they stopped us. No one's allowed to independently explore. They'll take you here for $30,000 or $40,000, show you some penguins and some ice, but no one's allowed to go out here because out here isn't down here. Out here is out there, out to the outer space, right? To where there's more land, perhaps a lot more land. Maybe Antarctica is bigger than all of the world oceans and continents combined. Maybe there's more ponds out there. We don't know because nobody is allowed to virtually or physically explore Antarctica, right? No one is allowed to go out there at all. And if you even try to look at it on Google Earth, they won't let you. But
Dave,
everywhere else is fine.
Let me ask you a quick question here. So what we're used to seeing, and you know, for most of us, we're taught in school that, you know, the Earth is a beautiful blue ball that's sort of, you know, rotating around the sun. So we know it's not a sort of circle; it's a sphere, as they say. But when we look at flat Earth maps, that's generally a circle. Why would it not be an oval or a triangle or a square or some other shape, a pentagon? Why is it or a hexagon or something? Like, why is it depicted as being a circle?
Because the sun brings light and heat. The sun circles around our northern center. So we have our magnetic north here. Lots of evidence of that being a very strong magnetic source there. And it goes around. And so it take a light, bring it over snowy area and keep circling it. It'll melt out a circle. That's it. It's just melting out a circle. The circuit of the sun goes around. It goes around and around. And so it melts out the circuit. The sun goes out to the Tropic of Capricorn, your summer, our winter solstice. Then it travels back in 6 months to the Tropic of Cancer, this inner yellow line. That's our northern summer, your southern winter. Sun's farther away from you. It's lower in the sky. It's higher in the sky for us because it's closer. We're warm. You're cold. That's our summer. Then it goes back out, and it goes. So right now, you guys are heading towards the top of your summer. The sun is on its way out to you. Here's Australia. It's on its way out. Before, in June, it was all the way in here, far away from Australia, but now it's all the way out here. It's almost, it's getting out there. We got, a month and a half to go.
Now,
So-
if the Earth is flat,
Yeah.
would you also be saying then that the sun and the moon and the other planets, or the other objects that we see, are they also flat? Is that what we're?
Yeah,
Is
so
that what we're suggesting?
that's a false comparison fallacy. So
No, I'm asking. I'm not going to pick holes. I'm asking.
No, I'm just telling you it's a bad question, and I'm going to explain it to you. So you look up at the lights in your sky. Describe the lights in your ceiling right now. What do they look like? Tell me about the lights in your ceiling right now. Look up.
I've got LED
They're
lights.
LED.
And
Okay.
like
Are they bulbs? Are they round? Are they oval? What shape are they?
they're circular.
Okay, circular. Are they flat or are they bulbous?
So my house, the lights are hidden. They're hidden
Okay.
behind a.
All right,
a
but
thing,
do
so-
they have any correlation to the shape of the floor?
No, of course not.
All right, the lights in the sky have no correlation to the shapes of the floor. However, the moon certainly does look spherical to me. So if this is the moon, is this spherical? That one's actually not. Is this one a sphere? Take a guess before the hand grabs it. Is that a sphere?
Probably not. Probably not.
Probably
Based on
not
what you're-
because you're guessing. But does it look like a sphere?
It looks like a sphere, but based
Right.
on what you the
It's
first
flat.
hand,
It's actually flat, right?
Okay.
It looks like a sphere. It looks like it's flat. How about this one? Is that one a sphere? You can't tell. It's a bowl.
Okay,
It's concave, right? Is
Right.
this one a sphere? Is this one a sphere?
well, it's the same answer.
Yeah, well, no, that one is a sphere. So what I'm saying is, looking at the lights in the sky, whether they're spheres or not, you don't know. You can't measure them. You don't know how far they are. And if you actually look at do the math with the light of the moon, I could be in the middle of nowhere, full moon, and I could read a book by it. It casts my shadow on the ground. So the moonlight is casting my shadow on the ground. Using science, not pseudoscience. If I went halfway to the moon, it would be 4 times brighter. Halfway again, 16 times brighter. Halfway again, when I got a mile from the moon, not a mile, 100 miles from the moon, it would be 60,000 times brighter than it is. That's way brighter than the sun, than we see the sun. That's how bright it would have to be to light up the earth as it does, according to science, right? So when you look at these things, Polaris, 433 light years away. You don't know from Polaris because you can't see Polaris because you're too far away from Polaris. But Polaris is supposedly 433 light years away. You wouldn't be able to see it at a light day away, according to the size that they tell us.
Based on that, would you suggest then that the NASA claim to the moon landing, the astronauts wouldn't have even been able to still have eyeballs if they actually landed on the moon because of how bright it was? Is that
exactly? But let me just show you one thing, and I have a million things on the moon landing. But if I show you one thing that shows they're faking it, is that enough, or do you need a whole bunch?
Look, I'm going to go to your website, my friend, because I'm very fascinated by your ideas. As I said, I'm not sure that I'll be persuaded, but I'm going to go there and I'm going to definitely look at it.
Well, I want you to watch the first 5 videos on the crash course, and they're really good videos. You'll be entertained. Okay, if it doesn't doesn't convince you, that's fine. So just check this out. Where's the sun in this picture? So look, you can see his shadow. Where's the sun? He's facing this way, so the sun's behind him, right? He's on the moon. This is a NASA video. The sun's behind him, correct?
Presumably, yes.
They did well, not presumably. The sun has to be behind him because they're on the moon. They brought no lights of their own. The only light is the sun.
I accept what you're saying. Yep.
Okay, so let's watch. He goes to the right, and the camera's going to pan to the right. Look at the shadows of the rocks. Right? They're all okay. Makes sense. Shadows are going that direction. We go. We keep going. We keep going. And now look at the shadow. Where's the sun now? The sun's on this side of him. And then we keep going to the right, just a little bit farther, and somehow the sun got to the other side of him. And the shadow's going in the complete opposite direction. Complete opposite direction, right? So now watch this. We're going to go back to the middle. And you see these two light reflections, 1, 2, in his helmet. So we're watching. When he turns, you're going to see 4 of them. Ready? 1, 2, and as soon as he turns, you'll see 3 and 4. 1, 2, now 3 and 4. So there's 4 of them. What could he possibly be reflecting? All right. Could it be something like this? I don't know. I'm not there. But it can't be the sun. Right? So that alone is enough to show you that that scene at least is fake. Maybe they went to the moon and they couldn't show us the actual technology because they didn't want the Russians to steal it. So they showed us a fake moon landing simulating, right? That is literally the best denying the best argument you can make, which is a ridiculous argument, right? And then you have to believe that this cost $38 million. Beach chairs, an umbrella, right? Duct tape, right? And then where are the tire tracks? You can't see close, but there's no tire tracks, right? What's going on? And you zoom in on this thing and see it. It's absolutely.
Can I ask a question as a layperson?
Yeah.
Let's assume that you're right and the Earth is flat. What are the implications then for our public policy, our future, and how would that change the way we do things?
Great question. So the answer is if the Earth is flat, that means we are at the center of creation. That means that the governments are lying to us. That means that we have great power. That means that there is no denying creation. That means that they're hiding it for a reason. The reason is they don't want us to understand what this place is. They don't want to understand the power that we have. They don't want to understand that free energy is real. Right? Because if you had a device the size of a roll of quarters that ran your car forever and heated and cooled your house to any temperature you wanted and wasn't bad for the environment and would do it for free for your entire life, would that change your life at all? Answer is hell yeah, it would. So that's an implication. This is about the government being a middleman. Government doesn't want to just get above you. They want to get above God. Government is not above you. They work for you. If they're lucky, you can have them below your feet. The only thing above you is up to you is God, right? If you want to put yourself above God, good luck, right? So when you understand, the implications of what this is, and you figure out who you are, what this place is, everything changes. Everything changes. If you look at the millions and millions and millions of flat earthers out there, none of them fell for the nonsense. None of them fell for the boogeyman, the jab, right? They're all awake to all of the nonsense in the world. Because if you can convince somebody that they're a random speck expanding into an infinite universe, they tell us that the universe is expanding into non-space at 1 billion miles a minute or something like that every day forever. Well, that's dumb. It's stupid. Okay.
So if the Earth is flat, then are all the planets in the solar system flat?
Well, I should have already asked that.
So let's go back to planets because we really didn't get there. People are stuck on the heliocentric idea of planets and stars. They don't exist. There's lights in the sky. We could not see the stars the way that they tell us. Like here is this is the star Betelgeuse, right? Our consumer optics, right? Does that look like a burning ball of gas in a space vacuum, which is scientifically impossible, or that's trillion miles away? That is not. Here's another one, right? Look at this one. What is that? You know what it is? I couldn't tell you what it is, but it's not a burning ball of gas trillions and trillions and trillions of miles away. They say the closest star is 4 light years away. That's 25 trillion miles. Do you guys understand what a trillion is? All right, I say this in every show, right? How long is 1 trillion seconds? Does anyone want to guess?
Well, you can't count them. I know that.
How long is 1 trillion seconds? If you guess it within a week, 1 week, I'll give you a Bitcoin. You got 5 seconds. Take a guess. Nothing to lose.
30,000 years.
Close. You've heard this before. 31,000 years. 31,000 years. Well, if you've never heard it before, you're the first person to come within 20,000 years. Okay? All right? 31,000 years. That's 1 trillion seconds. So if we were traveling a mile per second, which no one's ever gone that fast, we went to the closest star for 31,000 years. We have to do that 24 more times to get there, right? That's what they tell us space is. They want us to feel insignificant. They want us to, because if you feel insignificant, if you're trapped on a ball, if you're trapped on a ball is a place of lack, right? A ball is a place of complete and total lack. And if you live there,
But Dave, that comes back to what I asked earlier when I first came on, which I know is one of your typical questions and everything, which is, what difference does it make whether it's flat or whether we're all going through these world problems?
I think, Mark, I actually think that it would be significant, because if Dave is correct and the Earth really is flat, we've been lied to, and that has some pretty significant implications for our understanding of not just our planet but the solar system and the universe. I think that's interesting. Dave, let me just come back to a couple of things. One I'll just say tongue in cheek. Your description of some beach chairs and an umbrella, how could it cost 38 million? My answer to that is, have you seen the government recently? And only the government could spend that sort of money. That's the explanation for that one. But a question: we've all been taught, pretty much our whole lives about the dinosaurs, and there was an asteroid that hit the Earth and caused this calamitous event, and it killed all the dinosaurs.
All these guys, right?
All of those guys, yes,
never existed.
So you don't think they ever existed, or
no dinosaur skeleton has ever been found, right? They find these giant bones, and the dinosaurs in the 1800s, some royal guy, I forget his name, middle 1800s, came up with the idea of dinosaurs. Now, no records of any ancient culture, anyone has ever mentioned finding a dinosaur. But he came up with the theory, he published the paper, and 365 days later, to the day, he and his team discovered the first dinosaur. Okay, dinosaurs were created to hide dragons and giant human bones, right? They don't want you to understand what was here. They don't want to understand, what type of beings, humans, were here before, and may still be here now. They might live in the outer lands. I couldn't tell you. But
they theorized that when the Earth was warmer and oxygen levels were different, that we had giant humans that stomped around the Earth. They've also theorized that the dinosaurs eventually mutated, the ones that survived the asteroid hitting the Earth, that they actually mutated into what are now birds. You're saying that they didn't exist at all. We're told that actually fossilized things is what oil actually is.
Yeah, that's what they tell us. Hold on. They tell us fossil fuels. They tell us, we have Lucy, the missing link, but then when you look into it, you find out that was faked. Right? All of the missing links that they've created over time have all been proven scientifically to be faked. Why do you need to fake something? Well, I can't find any evidence of it, so we're going to fake it. Okay, cool. Right? Why do they need to fake space? Why do they need to fake floating on the ISS? Right? If they're really in space, why don't they show us themselves really floating and stop using green screens and wires and augmented reality? Right? There's so much evidence, but here's the thing. You guys believe I live in Connecticut. I might have said that earlier in the show. I live in Connecticut. So now you can believe it. The lazy man's way is like, I believe him. Why would he lie? Therefore, I store it as true information. But if you wanted to take the time and learn the truth, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of time. So you're not going to do it. You're not going to spend the effort to research this stuff. You're told a bunch of bullshit in school, and you can regurgitate it. And if you do it really well, you can become a teacher and you can get a degree. And if anyone ever questions what you're saying, you can point to your degree and say, where's your degree? I studied the bullshit and I regurgitated it perfectly, right? And if you do that, then everyone has to believe you. I say following the masses is very dangerous because the M is silent most of the time.
Dave, I'll just let you know, I love what you're saying. I'm fascinated by it. As I said, I will check out what you're saying and see if my mind will be changed. Just to your question about how I calculated that, I hadn't actually heard it before, but I am in finance, so maths is one of my strongest suits. But keep your Bitcoin. I'm not interested in that. I'm much more interested in what you have to say. And I think it's fascinating, and I really, really love and admire your passion.
I appreciate it. Watch the crash course. It's
just really
absolutely
quickly,
free. It's absolutely free. Watch those videos, take notes, ask questions, and then you're going to have questions when you watch that, but they're all answered. Okay, they're all answered. Ask other people.
Just really quickly,
or look at the app.
just really quickly, because I know we're
coming back to our network again.
We should all talk on top of each other. Go ahead.
Yeah, just really quickly, because I was going to say that I know we've only got a limited time. I think you said you had an hour, maybe a little bit over, and everything. So, like Shaquille said, I hope you'll come back and everything. But just really quickly, I think Jacoby had a question for you. But I know one of the things that you brought up in your questionnaires and everything was this notion of mud floods and everything. So, are those not a real thing, or are they a real thing? And how does that play into your conversation? Because we oftentimes hear about these mud disasters and just disasters in general. So, does that play into the flat Earth theory, or does it not play into the flat Earth theory?
Yeah. So, well, they make more sense on a flat Earth, but there's no question that there was some sort of mud flood, that there was a reset. On the app, there's the old world section. I recommend watching My Lunch Break. He's free on YouTube. You can just go there. You don't have to go through the app. My Lunch Break will blow your mind. Watch 5 of his videos, and you're going to watch all of his videos. And then on my website, there's a link to Old World Order. This is by Sean Hibbler. Stu Peters put it out just this year, I believe. And it is a great intro to the old world. And then you can make up your own mind and you can look deeper. There's all sorts of stuff in here, from the giant trees. I'm the Improbable Dreamer. He's on Instagram. All short stuff, easy to get into. Start looking into this stuff and make up your own mind. Don't believe what people say. You know, when the trolls show up in your chat and they say, Dave's a scammer, blah, 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 they never offer a globe proof. Go look at their channels. Their channels I call the globe proof channels, because there's nothing on their channel. There's absolutely nothing. But they'll follow me from show to show to show to to comment on everyone's comments, but they offer zero globe proof. I showed you we can see too far. I showed you that you can't have high pressure next to low pressure. I taught you about the inverse square law of light, and you can't deny this stuff, right? Let me show you another one. This is one I show often, and this one I like this one. This is Southern Flights, right? If you looked into Southern Flights, right? So this is the globe. And we got New Zealand here. So we got, Australia's over here, New Zealand right there. And if you want to go to Argentina over in South America, this is the Great Circle route. This is the shortest route. It's not over Antarctica. There's islands out here that they can land on if there's an emergency. So there's no excuse not to go this way, because the New Zealanders want to go to Argentina, right? But the actual flight route is this. They go from New Zealand across the equator, all the way to San Francisco, across the United States to Texas, and then all the way back down across the equator to Argentina. Can you tell me why they would do that? Right? This trip across this unoccupied ocean is farther than this trip, let alone going across and down. Well, I'll tell you why they do it. What's the shortest distance between 2 points?
A straight line.
New Zealand, San Francisco, Houston, Texas, Argentina. Get a straight edge.
Well, I think the airline industry would maybe argue that there isn't enough passenger traffic, and that's why they route that way.
It's bullshit.
I won't argue with you. I'm not going to argue with you on that. Let me ask you another question here. One would be about shipping lines and what routes they take. They might have more direct routes than that. But the real question I'd like to ask you though is, we've been taught, depending on whether you're religious or scientific or both, we've been taught that Big Bang, all this stuff happened. It was all this violent kind of stuff going on in space, and the Earth. We had the moon actually existed because of 2 planets colliding, and the Earth, over millions and millions of years, turned into this great sphere.
Cool story,
what
bro.
do you believe? It's not my story. That's what we're taught.
No, I'm just saying it's a cool story, bro. I'm just saying story, bro.
So what would you say is the creation of Earth and the formation of Earth and life, etc.? What was your opinion on
This
that?
place is created. The entire place is a living system. The earth is alive. The air is alive. The sky is alive. The stars are alive. We're alive. We're all part of the system. The moon is a magnetic energy. It gives us and the sun charges us with a positive charge. The moon actually has a negative charge to it. It's part of this electrical circuit. It's part of how the electrostatic system works. It's why we don't float up into the air. We're more dense than the air, so we go down, but there's an electrostatic flow. The earth, the sun and the moon circle in between the tropics and create a wake. That's why you have counter rotating vortices on the outside. That's why storms most of the time spin in opposite directions, because of the electromagnetic wake of the sun and the moon, right? They tell us the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon and 400 times farther. And that's why they look like they're the same size. Or maybe they're just the same size, right? And then they line up in a perfect eclipse, right? The chances of that happening are infinitesimally, impossibly small, but it happens again and again and again. Do you know that eclipses repeat every 18 years? That the eclipse cycles repeat every 18 years exactly, right? So you have to believe that gravitational bodies are flying through space, going around the sun, going around each other. We have planetary alignment, so all the gravities are lining up and nothing gets tugged out of place. Everything just works perfectly, right? But that's called pseudoscience, because in the gravitational world, there's a thing called the three-body problem, right? The three-body problem is you can't take three bodies and predict what they're going to do next. These are three bodies of the same size. This is a computer model that says, okay, we know it's going to go here, and then now what's going to happen? All right, these two are going to turn, and they can't figure out what it's going to do next, right? They can't figure out three bodies, but they can figure out a trillion bodies, right? And everything works like a perfect clock, right? A Swiss watch is very, very accurate watch, but it's not as accurate as the sky clock, because time is based on the sky clock, right? So how the heck do we have a gravitational system flying through space with zero resistance, just gravity? Like the sun's gravity could hold on to Pluto. Our gravity holds on to our moon. Jupiter's gravity is ignoring everyone else's gravity, and they line up and everything works. How come when the moon comes around the earth towards the sun, right? When the moon comes towards the sun, how come it doesn't speed up a little bit and slow down? How come the sun doesn't rip it away? The sun's holding on to fucking Pluto, right? But it can't move, and then they go, well, the earth, it's closer to the earth, and the earth's gravity cancels out the sun. Cool story, man. All right? It's a cool story, but it's stupid. And it's for suckers.
So you've talked a little bit about
Really
trolls, and I would say to you, hey, welcome to the internet. Trolls are always going to be out there, whether you're telling something that's true or not true. But I am actually fascinated by what you're saying. What caused you to sort of get involved or to start learning and studying the flat Earth theory, if I can call it that? What was your original interest in it?
Yeah, great question. So I was doing a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, and let me come back here. I was doing a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, looking into all of the big conspiracies, and looking into we don't need to go poison the well with the other conspiracies, but I don't know what you guys believe, but we're looking into them. And in the third year of the podcast, people started sending me flat Earth stuff, and I would just delete. I'm like, oh, that's funny. I thought it was a joke at first, and then they kept coming. I'm like, oh, you're really annoying. I'll ban you. You're no longer allowed to post on our videos. And then I just banned for life. I'm banning people. And then finally, another researcher who's done some incredible films said, Dave, you got to look into this. And she gave me some stuff to watch. Now, I don't just believe videos, but the videos are actually a good source of information where other people have done the work already for me. And so I started watching them with the purpose of debunking them. Screw it. Flat Earth is stupid. I'm going to prove the globe. Show me this video. I'll show you what's wrong with it. And I kept trying. And the more I do it, here's how you become a flat earther. Try to debunk it. Watch the real stuff. If you Google flat Earth, you're going to get a bunch of garbage. Okay, they're going to feed you garbage because Google is the government, and they're going to feed you what they want you to see. They will never show you the videos that are on the app. None of them will ever show up in any of your Google searches, but they're out there. You can even search for most of them by name, and they won't come up. Luckily, I've broken the algorithm. I've gone on so many different shows, they don't know how to handle me. My channel's blocked, right? My channel is really hard to find. but they made it really, really difficult, right? And then the trolls, the soulless trolls out there that are desperate for, to claim our souls, I guess. I don't know what their motivation is. They're out there trying to stop you from seeing this. Ignore everybody, including me. Go find this information yourself. On my website, start there. Start with the crash course. Watch those videos. If you really want to get into it, you can get my $3 app. It's a scam, but get it anyway. Get it anyway.
I think, at a minimum, I'd do it for entertainment if I didn't think I was going to be convinced. But I will say again, I think that you have every right to express your view, and people shouldn't be censoring you. Big companies shouldn't be censoring you. If people are interested in hearing your ideas, you should be able to express it. People should be able to hear it. Let's talk about the tides. So again, we're told that the moon is having the gravitational pull on the water, and so that's how we get high tides and low tides. What would be the theory on that from you guys?
Yeah. So the tides are ridiculous. Think about this: if the tide's pulling on the ocean, it should pull all of the water to the center of the ocean and away from the shoreline. So it would be low tide instead of high tide. So here's the moon, and I'm dyslexic here. So it's pulling the water. This is the official story of tides, right? It's pulling the water away from the earth, creating a bulge. But there's another high tide over here on the other side of the earth, 12 hours away, 12 time zones away, right? And the official story is it's pulling the earth away from the water, leaving another bulge. That's the official story. Okay, that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson says it is. And he says that the earth is rotating inside that bulge, right? The truth is the moon is not responsible for the tides. It is correlated, but not responsible, because if it's the moon's gravity, well, then when there's a new moon, the moon is supposedly right next to the sun. Then you have the sun and the moon pulling on the water at the same time. It should be super high tides, but the full moon is when they're the highest tides. Well, the full moon is when the sun's over here, and when the sun's over here and the moon is over here on opposites. I'm dyslexic. It's on opposite sides of the earth. So when the moon is over here and the sun is over here, that's when there's a full moon and we have the biggest tides. But when the moon and the sun are both over here.
So you've described why the current theory is wrong, but what would be the explanation, according to you guys, for why we have tide?
Great question. So there's all of these tidal nodes here, and I think that there's waters that the earth is literally breathing in and out twice a day. There's the waters from the deep. There's the rivers of the deep, and there's these tidal nodes where there's no tide. There's no tide where all of these red dots are, and there's highs and low tides that circle around them. That completely debunks the moon idea, right? It has to do with the magnetic fields of the earth, and that's what it's correlated to. The question is, if why does a cloud float with millions of tons of water in it? Why does it float? Why does it float in the sky? Why is it above the air? And it's held up electrostatically. The whole gravitational tidal thing is a bunch of garbage. Now, here I am. If you want to find a ton of information, if you go on the frequently asked questions page and go to tides, which is the yellow one right here, click that. And there is some great videos on the tides. And just remember, we can falsify things, but we don't need to replace them. We can replace lots of them, but falsification is independent of replacement. If I prove to you that you're adopted, you can't say to me, well, then who are my real parents? I don't know, man.
Just really quickly, because I had not been putting up the chats, but we'll put up some of them because you were right. The trolls were there, and I was not putting them up, not partially intentionally, but also because I was having computer issues. But Jacoby was the other.
We should let the trolls
along those lines.
What they wanted to say.
Along those lines, but I was just wondering if I think Jacoby may have had some questions for you as well, because he's one of our regular panelists.
We're a half an hour over my time limit. I literally have another show in 4 minutes. So
just maybe Jacoby's got one quick question, and then we'll get ready to wrap, because I got to wrap for another show as well.
Thanks for being here, Dave. I hope we see you again.
I appreciate it. Listen, do your own research. Go and just start with the crash course. Start there and then figure out where that takes you. And I encourage you, watch the old world stuff. On my website, the big banner, it says Old World Order. Just watch that and see where it takes you.
Just really quickly, Joe, do you have a quick question? You only got a few minutes, but I know you've been
I
listening
mean,
in the background.
I literally have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Well, we
my,
can stay on without Dave when he's ready to go.
my only question was the explanation of wind, rotation, and orbit. Because if for a flat Earth, how can we explain wind? The rotation of the Earth, is it like a disk? Is there an orbit around the sun if the light's above us? Because Shaq and I don't see the same stars at night. So are we?
Let me answer that. So the sun goes around the Earth. The sun, the moon, and the stars are very close, right? If you I flew to Australia in the middle of the night from California, and I couldn't see any stars. I should have seen millions of stars. So the stars disappear when you get up higher. That's weird. I don't know the answer why, but the heliocentric reason is absolutely ridiculous. But take this. We're in a room. Take this example, and in the ceiling are random recessed lighting and lights, and we say, okay, that one's a horse, and that looks like a starfish, and now that one looks like a snake, right? So now we're in a room, 10-foot high ceilings. Now I expand that room to the size of a city, and I say, go for a walk, and you walk 2, 3, 4 miles away, right? And then I call you, you can't hear me. So I get on the phone, I call you, and I say, hey, look up at the lights in the ceiling right now. And you look up, I say, do you see that snake? You see that starfish? You see that horse? You're like, no, I see completely different lights. I'm like, okay, then the room is a sphere. The reason you can't see Polaris and the reason you see different stars in the south is because you're under a different part of the ceiling. It's very small, it's very low. And Polaris should never be able to be seen beyond the equator, but it's been seen as far as 30 degrees south. The Southern Cross has been seen from Texas often, okay? That's impossible on a globe, no matter how clear it is, but only when it's super clear, you can see it. So the horizon is absolutely, it's optical, and it changes with the density of the air. On my website, flatearthdave.com, there's all my social media there. One of my YouTube channels is DITRH, stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. I have all my videos there under 5 minutes. Watch a whole bunch of those videos. Start with those little ones. Just watch those. If you get the app, every day there's a featured video right here. Just watch that while you're having your coffee. It'll give you something to think about during the day. And I guarantee you, after 2 weeks, you're going to call me up and you're going to go, I hate you. You've ruined my life. My girlfriend thinks I'm nuts, blah, blah, blah. I'm fighting with whatever. Just watch them and wake up. Wake up, because this is the most important topic ever. This is how they keep us slaves. Because if everyone woke up, let's say this video goes viral and the entire world watches it tonight, tomorrow, all the governments in the world are done. They're all finished, because you can't control people that know the truth of this world. That's all.
Appreciate you being on, Dave.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me.
Enjoy your next show. Thanks for coming.
All right, guys. Thanks. Peace out.
Peace. Let me get ready to end the show and everything.
Well, we can talk for a few minutes post show. I think I know Toby's got a few things that he wants to say. Look, I will just say, obviously, I don't agree with what our guest has said, but I'm going to go to his website and check it out, because that's what I do. I like listening to what we describe as conspiracy theories. I think they're entertaining. And hey, I'm not going to be sitting there, like an idiot, go, oh, it's just amusing. If he says something that's really compelling, hey, I'm happy to be wrong. If the Earth is flat, if the Earth really is flat, cool, prove it. Hey, I'll support it. But in the meantime, as I've said before, he's got every right to express his view. I think the people that want to listen to him should be able to listen to him, and those people that don't want to don't have to. But I think that the one of the reasons why people would struggle to counter some of the things that he's saying is he's very passionate, obviously, that shows through. One of the reasons why it's hard to argue against it is because we're not used to having to try to prove something that we've always accepted. And so that can make some of his arguments sound quite compelling, because unless you're a physicist or an astrologist or, an astronomer or something, what are you going to do? So I think that's probably why it's hard to disprove without doing a whole heap of research in order to disprove it. But I'm up for a laugh. Toby, what's your? I can see by your facial impression I'm not impressed. But come on now.
I have to disagree. I will not be going to the website because most of it is redundant stuff that's been said before. It's a lot of it's easily disprovable by basic science that we've already done in high school, middle school, so on and so forth. I have no problem with him expressing his views and being able to say what he needs to say and what he believes in. I don't find his stuff to be tough to disprove. There are some things that become believable because he takes a nugget of a nugget of factoid that of something that's true, and then he spins it because at talking about the Earth breathing and that gravity's not really real. It's just magnets and all this other stuff. It's disprovable, but it sounds good when you inundate people with a lot of information at one time, and that's where it doesn't become a discussion more so than it becomes a lecture of, hey, let's talk about this piece that you just actually said that was untrue. Let's go ahead and talk about the science. Like he was talking about the spacewalk. The camera was panning around in a circle. You're saying that the sun is supposed to stay and at one point, even on Earth, when we do that, it does the same thing. So it was just the nugget of truth and the reflection of Earth, all that stuff. Yeah, fun.
You're leaving me. You know that you're leaving with the cheap shot. I'm not going to be able to help myself, right? So taking a nugget of truth and then twisting it and bombarding it is a problem for you. Then, isn't that just the progressive Democrat playbook? But okay, it was a cheap shot. I couldn't help myself.
Progressive Democrat stuff. It wasn't even about politics. You had to bring it that way.
With our usual thing and everything. Y'all can stick around and talk. I've actually got to get ready to go to Haytime as well and do one other show. But I thought it was an interesting discussion. And like you said, he brings up some subsequent disproved.
As I said before, clearly he's very, very passionate about it. Look, I don't believe what he's saying. I think it's fascinating. But then again, David Icke, he talks about us all living in a hologram. The Matrix movie was very interesting. Are we all living in a computer simulation? This is interesting stuff. So, we can explore it and play with it and have some fun with it. I'm not sure. The comment that he made as it was wrapping up was, hey, if this was true, all the governments would be done for. Well, no, I don't think they would be, actually, because they weren't done for when the Earth was proven to be round. So, if scientific evidence changes things, well, it changes things. But look, we're basically judging it on what he said in an hour with us. As I said, I've got a bit more time on my hands, so I'm happy to have a look through his website. And for $3, Jatomi, it's not even a cup of coffee. So I'll get his app and I'll have a bit of a play around and have a bit of fun and see what he's going to say for himself. I highly doubt he's going to change my mind, but whatever. I'll give the bloke $3.
The thing I completely Shaq, the thing I completely agree with you on is that it's fun to play around with and like write a script. Three Body Problem was based on the idea of chaos and how true chaos is really formed, where you have three celestial bodies that have a particular gravitational pull that's roughly about equal, and it enters into a system. Well, I'm sorry, two celestial bodies wrapped around a set of planets. How will those planets go in terms of that orbit? I mean, looking at that breeds true chaos, and looking at that, you can't really figure out or predict at one point where the planet rotation would be and how all that stuff. Yeah, you could do that with flat Earth theory, but the chaos stuff is real. Talking about the Dyson sphere, tried to bring it up before, and it's the same thing feeding into how you're talking about the Matrix idea, which is beautiful because if you think about it, if there were such a thing as a Dyson sphere, the size of the Dyson sphere would have to be roughly about the size of so it wouldn't if it were around our sun, the actual sphere itself would have to be thin enough and be able to pull enough power, be the size where it's sitting around maybe about the orbit of where Mars is. And that could actually set up a Matrix style thing where we're sitting inside of a hologram and all the other stuff, because that's the amount of data and energy the amount of data and computer processing that it would need and the energy that it would need to do a full-blown simulation of what we are living in. So that's another story that could be cool to look at. But
He
yeah, what
made
he's
a
doing
statement there, and I'm not sure if I misheard what he said, but I thought he said that we're told the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon. Well, no, the sun's like thousands of times bigger than the moon. Mark, obviously I came in late. What was the the obvious question? If the Earth is flat, why don't we sail off the edge of it and fall off? What was the answer to that really obvious question? That probably is the first one that everyone asked.
He did that way, but he had some notion about I forgot the answer, but he did come up with a theory that talked about the nature and everything. But I have to go back and watch it to answer you. And I didn't quite phrase it that way because that would have been the more obvious question. So that was a fault of mine in the way I phrased it.
Well, I tried to ask, that's why I wanted to ask the question of, if there has to be some type of rotation, because, or are we saying that the stars in the sky aren't real, the sun isn't real, but then he said the sun rotates around the earth. And then how would that be if the sun is rotating around the earth? And if the earth were flat, that means Australia and the US would have the same nighttime, essentially. And
so Toby, let me just say firstly, the answer to his question was go to his website and get his app. And as Mark wraps up, I think in the interests of fairness, given that I am currently in a
where'd he go? He fell off the planet. Mark, he fell off the planet. He's upside down. He fell off the planet. Where did Shaq go? We got to find Shaq. He's in space somewhere.
Sorry, I'm here. Sorry. So in the interest of fairness, given that I am in Australia and I am down under, and the blood is rushing to my head, I will let Mark wrap up while I actually turn my camera the correct way.
Yeah, see, Shaq, I thought you fell off the planet. We were going to have to send somebody up into space to find you.
We're going to go rescue, but on that note, we're going to get on out of here. Everything. Appreciate y'all.